Welcome, Kansas City. This is Tracy Allen, editor-in-chief of the Kansas City Call newspaper, and I want to thank you for joining us again for this opportunity with the Wake Up Call. Once again, I have with us Congressman Emanuel Cleaver II. Congressman, thank you for joining me um,
Agree with
this
you.
day and so forth. You guys, like I said, it always seems to be busy up on Capitol Hill. Obviously, and then probably even more so when it comes to coming back from the shutdown and so forth. Um, and a lot of people don't think, there's not an adjustment to make being off for about a month. But was it kind of just hit the ground running for you and the other, senators and representatives from the standpoint of what we need to get done?
Sure. The people who work on the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, they've probably been putting in most of the time and most of the energy in trying to get something together because the NDA, National Defense Authorization Act, is critically important. We're not even a nation if we don't have a military. So they are working on that. But here's the thing that at least I want the people in this district to know, just because it's good to know how it actually functions. Whenever you have a must-pass bill like the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, what many people, particularly those who've been around for a while, will try to do, and sometimes very successfully, and that is to get past legislation that must pass, and then slip in, or not slip in, but actually have it accepted and declared germane their own work. For example, I hope to have 4 or 5 pieces of legislation in there. It's very hard to get. It's very, very, very hard to get. But I have some housing legislation that I've been working on almost 15 years. And this looks like it might be an opportunity for us to get some of that in. But not everybody, but there are probably 10 or 15 other members of the 435 members of the House who are trying to get some legislation in with an opportunity to actually get it done. So we are trying to do some things, but I will say that there was no work, and I remember in a meeting 2 days ago saying this to my colleagues, that my greatest fear is that we are not able to get some kind of legislation passed before the Christmas break, because if we don't, the suffering, the financial suffering around this country and in my district will be so immense that there will be people whose lives may never be able to take corrective action, and that is we've got to have the Affordable Care Act marketplace premium payments.
You mentioned that because let's face it, and I know I'm not probably the only one, but the Affordable Care Act and that piece of legislation, I know you mentioned about the National Defense Authorization Act, and we'll go back to that. But I think what's on the minds of so many people prior to the end of this year and the end of this month is, will they pass the authorization to at least extend those premium subsidies and so forth? Obviously, our community will be greatly impacted because those who did choose to get health insurance, now they're in a position where they may actually just flat lose their insurance or choose
Yes.
not to do that. Congressman, I did want to ask though, and we know that this piece of legislation is very, very critical. There's been some rumblings that there might be maybe some on the Republican side that are willing to, I don't want to say bend completely, but bend maybe in such a manner to maybe extend it for 2 years. What have you been hearing? Where is everything kind of leaning in on that standpoint, even prior to this possible vote?
Uh, if I can, let me take about 50, 60 seconds. So some of the viewers and some of the readers in the at the call may have a better understanding of what's going on. The ACA Affordable Care Act, some of you may know it as Obamacare. We were able to pass that, and it took quite a fight to get that done. But then when COVID hit, and people were losing jobs, and the economy had tanked almost completely. Joe Biden proposed something called the Inflation Reduction Act, and in that act, we had a provision that would allow us to enhance the tax credits that people were getting from the ACA. And when I say enhance it, we had to. I mean, people who were paying it not only did not have the money to pay it during the COVID crisis, but many of them couldn't pay any other bills as well. Many of them had. I mean, and people in this community were just living on. And so I thought what we did was the right thing to do at the time, and try to have the enhanced premium taxes to go along with all these families who were already with ACA, so that they wouldn't completely lose all the insurance. And so we've had it in place, and they are right. We only approved the legislation for a short period of time, from 2/21 to 2/25 at midnight on December 31st. The enhancement expires. And so right now, what you were mentioning is something that's being discussed. Even in the White House, I was surprised to see that there is this desire to expand it by 2 years, and then that would give us time to argue and fight and do all the other things that we have to do, that we don't have to do, but that usually is what happens. And so I would support 2 years. I will not support a 30-day, a 45-day extension that's playing with people's lives. And if we have a 2-year period, people can make some life decisions, some home decisions about what they want to do. Now, it's important to say many of the people who used to scream about how much they hated Obamacare, they realize now that they're not going to be able to make it without Obamacare and the tax enhancement, tax credit, whatever, however you choose to call it. Because when this was passed, we had 11 million individuals who were signed up for.
I do remember that. Yes.
But now we're talking about 24 million people who are now involved, and people realize now that, like, this is critical. We can't make it, and many of us realize that the number one cause for bankruptcy is medical. Yes, I mean I have a knee replacement. I've had 3 knee replacements, and if they just the cost of the equipment, the joint, that's in there, that alone is between $12,000 and $15,000, and that's before they've done anything, before they washed off my knee. And so those operations that maybe some people think are simple can run into the tens of thousands of dollars. And there are only a few people who walking around today who can afford to do to make all those payments without some help. And so that's what's at stake right here, right now.
So,
Even President Trump has said something about but we can't obviously uh, we have difficulties, putting a lot of faith in what he said, but he
right.
did say he's for expanding it.
When you mentioned about going from and I do remember the 11 million to the 24 million. First of all, do you believe, even though Speaker Mike Johnson has bluntly said that he will not hold a vote, do you, Congressman, see a vote being held? Second, with some of those on the Republican side, kind of, and then recently, even some of the women on that side stating that they would support an extension. Do you see, first of all, a vote being taken? Second of all, even though you have to be questionable about what someone says that, oh, I might consider extension. Do you see some Republicans actually joining Democrats from the standpoint of, yes, we need to think a little bit further onto this? And then third, is that only going to impact those that came on in the 2020 during the COVID, or is that going to impact all the 24 million?
Last part first, it would impact all of the 24 million. Mike Johnson, I have to preface this by saying many of the people may not realize that the Speaker of the House, especially if you have a strong speaker, is the second most powerful person in the United States politically. Nothing comes to the floor of the House of Representatives for a vote without the Speaker of the House saying it can come to the floor. So that is inarguably one of the most powerful people in the United States. This one is not so powerful because he's a good human being, but he just doesn't have. He's not. It just doesn't have the kind of power that we used to seeing. When you think about Newt Gingrich or Nancy Pelosi, I think is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. But I think what we're going to see right now is that there are about 20 something members, I don't know the exact number, of Republican members of the House of Representatives who are in seats where Kamala Harris won. In other words, when she was running for president, those precincts where they're running from, she carried. And so they know that they are vulnerable because the majority of the voters in that area are, in all likelihood, Democratic voters. And so we think that if Johnson allows a vote on the floor, which also, like I said another way, if Donald Trump tells Speaker Johnson, I want to vote on the ACA marketplace premiums and expansions on the tax credit, it's going to happen. No question about it. It will happen. And we know that we can pass it because right now the Republicans have a three-seat margin over Democrats. So we think we'd have almost 20 Republicans at least. But there probably would be a lot of Republicans who have looked at the elections, particularly the one last Tuesday, and saying, wait a minute, people are mad at us right now because they don't think we have any sensitivity for the financial whereabouts of people who need help. And so I would argue that we'd probably get somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 votes.
So
We need three.
do you think, in a sense, that with that additional, maybe going from 20 to 50, that they would be open to, I know at one point they were talking about being open to only 1 year. And then many started saying, no, let's do 2.
Yes.
Obviously, to be passed, we know all know midterms and all of that.
Hmm.
But do you see that as a realistic from the standpoint between now and whatever, before December 18th, 19th, whatever?
Yeah. I do. And right now, I can be 100% honest that to my knowledge, there's no committee working on anything, uh, to my knowledge, and I think I think I can say that that is a fact for everyone. The president came out a few weeks ago and said, well, maybe we ought to do it 2 years. And when he said that,
Hmm.
the MAGA base went crazy,
Hmm.
and he quickly
That's usually
withdrew.
their way.
Yes, yes. So that's out. Now, Congress tends to do what is absolutely necessary
Mhm,
when it's necessary.
mhm,
And so I think uh, before we go home for the holidays, I
mhm,
think that the tax credits will be expanded. The tax credits will continue, and I don't know where it will come from. But when we are about 5 or 6 days out, I can assure you,
mhm.
the people are going to be running around and they're going to be angry and screaming at people because nobody wants to go back to their home district and answer the question, why didn't we have the expansion? What happened? What side were you on? What is there any legislation you signed on to? And nobody wants to go home and say to people, as winter is beginning to deepen,
Right,
that well, no, I didn't think it was a big deal. I mean,
do
that
you
we were.
also think, and I didn't want to interrupt you, that they were possibly also concerned about the burgeoning as far as the emergency rooms and the extra things that are going to impact them if these credits or not? Because obviously, once if they decided not to go through with this, then that means people are without health insurance. People
Yes,
without health insurance that get sick, or their child or family member gets sick, where would they go first? Which they might go anyway, and that is to the emergency rooms. So we're talking about overburdening hospitals, and then, of course, hospitals that maybe are in communities that are already understaffed and likely underfunded too, the possibilities of them closing. So I would think that that is a lot on their minds, or should be on their minds.
yeah,
I can't answer that, but should be on their minds as far as maybe the need to extend this for a decent period of time so that they can come up with some kind of answer. What do you think about universal health? Because a lot of people bring that up. We know other countries have it, but just real quickly, what do you think?
I think it's a sin from my world that I spend my life in. It's a sin uh, that uh, people can't receive medical care in the nation that boasts of being the wealthiest nation on planet Earth. And I think every human being, which is could also be called universal
Mhm.
healthcare, every human being should have access to healthcare. Now, I go to meetings and people say, "Well, we'll just start going to the emergency room," and you kind of hit on this, Tracy, earlier. That would be the worst decision they could make because
Right,
Truman Medical, well, it's a university hospital system. It's going to take
right.
me a while to get out of calling it Truman. But many of the people, maybe most of the people who show up at the emergency room at University Hospital without insurance, and so they're going to be treated because the federal law of the United States is that if a person comes to a hospital, a place where
They
they can
would
get
have
medical
mercy.
help, there's a requirement that they get adequate medical care anyway. So in some ways, we already flirting with it, but not calling it that, because some people, if you know, they don't care if it happens. They just don't want to say it because it means they've been fighting against something all these years that they actually support. But I don't think anybody wants to go home and receive a phone call from Rogers Healthcare or Swope Healthcare, which is next door to me from where my office is located, and say, we got 800 people in the emergency room over here and downstairs waiting. We don't know what to do. We can't get enough MDs in here. We can't get enough nurses in here. I don't think anybody wants to go through that. And because now you're talking about losing an election, you let people go home for Christmas without putting in place something. 2 years, I'm not really inclined to want to go for 1 year, but at a minimum of 2 years, you're talking about a lot of people losing elections because people are going to be angry, and frankly, they ought to be angry. Insurance is expensive, extremely expensive, and it's going up. There's no such thing on somebody saying, well, Research Hospital is having a sale on heart operations this week. I mean, nobody's going to, there's no sale.
Gonna do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to back up. It's going to cost more and more and more.
Right. When you talk about costing more and more and more, I don't want to, because we just have a short time here, but obviously we still are dealing with the issue of SNAP benefits. And everybody, and not every state, and not community people, even not getting their full amount that was AK supposed to get from the month of November. Where does all of that stand? How do you see Congress handling that? We all know what President Trump views on that from the standpoint of preferably not giving them any of it. But where does all of that stand at this present moment?
It's in limbo. Usually, SNAP is in the ag bill. Usually, the agricultural bill, which moves usually smoothly because everybody realizes the agricultural bill is inseparable from life in this country as we know it.
Correct.
And so right now, we don't have an ag bill, and we didn't get one the last budget season. And when I say that, it also means that we are doing things now, failing to do things now that we've done historically without any conflict. Those of us in urban centers made a deal with the people in the rural areas that we would work together to always pass the agriculture bill. And until recently, the last year, last 2 years, this has been real, and we've been able to do that. We are not able to do that now, and because the hostility among elected officials and so much else. But I think people are growing restive. I think people are talking to their elected officials saying, hey, wait a minute, the farming community has lost money because of the tariffs, which is a tax on Americans, by the way. And so I think that this is something that could also be a time bomb for elected officials. Right now, in the district I represent, right here where all of us live, not in the beautiful background that you have.
Correct.
But we are right here, and it's 34,000. I hope people understand. 34,000 people, your neighbors, people sitting next to you in the church pew, who are right now rely on SNAP. 34,000, and
that's just in the Kansas City,
just Kansas City.
Yeah.
And 15% of those in need are children. There's this whole thing that SNAP is for black people and brown people, and they don't, you know, deserve this and so forth and so on. But I have to tell you, um, I think when you have these children suffering all kinds of illnesses as a result of the failure to give uh, uh, adequate food for them,
Correct.
uh, people can forgive you for a lot of things. They're not likely going to want to forgive you for a crying child. And all of us have seen those horrible and painful images of kids starving in distant places around the globe, whether it's Africa and South America, whether it's in the Sudan,
That's happening
Northern
right
Africa.
here.
That's
It's
right,
happening
right
here.
here, right
Right.
here.
You know, Congressman, as we close out just our time here on the wake up call, you guys are getting ready to head into a very critical year next year. We know that as you get close to recessing, as far as for the Christmas break and all of that, and the issues with the ACA, Obamacare, as well as SNAP. 2026 seems like a huge opportunity, really, for the Democratic Party to make a statement. It has already made some statements, obviously, from the voting in this in the recent Tuesday election, obviously, and with Tennessee, and then with obviously what took place on in the early part of November. But 2026 seems like the year that the Democratic Party can really make a statement and also kind of maybe even get a little bit more of an edge as we get ready to go into midterms. How do you see that year? Just real briefly, we'll talk about it in upcoming shows as far as the direction that really the party needs to maybe consider as we look into 2026.
Well, you've analyzed it probably as well as even the people on the Cook Report. I think
Yeah.
that's you just hit it on the head. There will be, I think, some Democratic waves across the country, and just about every expert is predicting that. But I also think that some of the things that we're going to have to do, if we take back the gavel, and I think we will actually next November. I think there's some things we got to do that we should not have an excuse for not doing unless we just run up against a recalcitrant.
What would be maybe one or two things that you think
Well,
that needs to be done?
what the polling is showing is that one of the issues that most people are having trouble dealing with right now are energy costs,
Hmm.
and nobody,
I can
a
see that.
few, yeah, a few people would have thought that in the political world, but when you start running polls, they say, well, we know inflation is high and continue to go up.
Hmm.
What part of it? And energy prices.
Correct.
And so people are having difficulty heating their homes in the winter and cooling them in the summer.
Correct.
They're also having difficulty putting gasoline in their tanks, although gas prices are not as high today as they were this time last year. But there's not much joy in saying that because everything else is going up in energy. And I think the Democratic Party has got to say, look, our number one goal is going to be reducing energy prices. And one of the ways to do it is is to stop the president from stealing. Uh, I had millions of dollars already approved for a energy program here in Kansas City where we would have done several thousand homes with solar panels, which would have not eliminated, but it would have reduced it so significantly that it would be like nothing, including shopping centers, by the way, where my office is, grocery stores that would be otherwise in trouble. And so I think we got to address issues and specifically, talk about, energy costs in homes and what we intend to do. And so I'm also of the opinion that Democrats all over the country are saying the same thing. We've got to do something, and this is no longer time for us to talk and then pass something and then 2 or 3 years later it's still held up in some kind of administrative form. People get tired of that, including people like me. So I think we're headed in the right direction, and I intend to be the preacher of get her done. My sermon topic.
The sermon topic of Congressman Cleaver, get it done. And we just got done, call family. Thank you, Congressman, for joining us here today on the Wake Up Call. We look forward to hearing from you down here in the future. Hopefully and prayerfully, we'll be able to get this Affordable Care Act extension with the subsidies, just so the people understand their premium subsidies that individuals are given. Hopefully we can get that passed, but
Yeah.
also too, hopefully, even though it might take some time, a little bit more time than need to be as far as getting the monies as it relates to SNAP back to people and so forth. But again, Congressman, thank you for joining me. I hope you and the family have a wonderful holiday season. Don't spend too much on the grandkids.
Yes, okay, I'll take that advice. Thank you.
To take that advice. So if any of the grandkids are watching, Pawpaw, and maybe Mimi, I don't know what Diane calls herself, but Pawpaw is going to
Cut back.
bless you, but you just give Pawpaw a break and so forth. But again, Congressman, thank you for taking the time to meet with me. Have a wonderful holiday season. Same thing for our call family. We want to wish you all a blessed, safe holiday season, but also take into consideration what Congressman Cleaver talked um, about some of the key issues that we're facing. And for those of you that are part of the ACA, we do not want you to frantic, but we do want you to be aware of what's going on. If you can't even now start preparing yourselves of things that you as individuals and a family can do to protect yourself from the standpoint of not feeling that you're alone, but that there is some help that is available for you. Please reach out, especially during this holiday season. Don't think that you are all alone and that the people don't care about you and so forth. But again, Congressman, thank you for taking the time to join us here today on the Wake Up Call. And thank you, Call family, for continuing your support of us in this century-old news outlet. And we look forward to meeting with you again. So thank you for joining us.
God bless.
God bless.